Jordan was Eva's first beau. When their liaison commenced, no one envisaged that these two would tie the knot and establish a family. The initial year of their romance glided by like a romantic getaway. But soon enough, the infatuation waned, and Eva began to discern the imperfections in her spouse that began to vex her. What bothered her the most was Jordan's lack of ambition to climb the corporate ladder. He had remained stagnant in his position for years, with no inkling of altering his circumstances. Eva was chiefly discontented by the fact that he didn't earn as much as she desired. She would gaze at her acquaintances, whose husbands raked in substantial sums, and couldn't help but feel a pang of envy. After a heated argument with Jordan, Eva dialed up her friend, extending an invitation to rendezvous in a local bar for a drink and respite. For hours on end, Eva vented tirelessly to her friend Payton about her husband. She was so furious that she bounced up and down on her chair while recounting the reasons for their fights. "Doesn't he realize that I want to lead a normal life, just like everyone else? Instead, he's content with his meager salary and seems to have no desires or aspirations." Eva fumed. Nodding empathetically, Payton listened attentively, refraining from interrupting her friend. Finally, when Eva had exhausted herself and slumped wearily in her chair, taking a sip of her cocktail, Payton cautiously broached the subject. "I may have a solution for you, a part-time job that pays well." She revealed that she had been working at a men's spa for the past 6 months and was earning a handsome income. "I've already managed to save up for a car," Payton told her friend with a mischievous wink. Payton elucidated the intricacies of the task, disclosing the inner workings and necessary actions involved. Eva was awestruck, never having contemplated the workings of such establishments before. She absorbed her friend's narrative, promising to mull over the proposition. After a span of days, she dialed Payton's number and requested her assistance in arranging an interview. Immediately, Eva began formulating plans in her mind, envisioning how she would out-earn her husband and exhibit her prowess. Naturally, she kept Jordan completely oblivious to the impending change in her professional pursuits. There was no need for him to be acquainted with the means by which his wife adorned their coffers. At the interview, a striking and dignified gentleman in his mid-30s, who introduced himself as Miles, represented the salon management. She and Eva had an in-depth discussion in his office, covering various job-related aspects and other finer points. Eva candidly mentioned to her prospective employer that she couldn't fully commit to the salon yet, as she was still tied to her current official position. Miles frowned slightly but eventually nodded in understanding. He concluded by expressing his approval of Eva and offered her a 2-week internship. Elated, she left the salon and immediately dialed Payton to share the good news about the interview, to which her friend responded with joy. Eva pondered how she might convey to Jordan that twice a week she would be arriving home from work as late as 9 o'clock, but failed to come up with a cunning excuse other than concocting a story about their company being swamped with tax inspections and other bureaucratic nuisances. Jordan felt for his wife, understanding the draining nature of such audits, and genuinely sympathized with her plight. Confident that her husband remained oblivious, Eva embarked on her after-work journeys to the other side of town to acquire hands-on experience at a local salon. Mixed emotions flooded her, torn between her curiosity and eagerness to earn extra cash, yet an undeniable sense of being taken advantage of. Seasoned colleagues, including Payton, reassured her that this feeling would dissipate in due time. Eventually, Eva bid farewell to her official job and embraced her true calling in the realm of massage therapy. Jordan was still clueless, but he couldn't believe how the money scandals had finally simmered down. He was relieved that tranquility had returned to their relationship. Then one day, Eva had a rough patch at work. A client straight up refused her and asked if another masseuse could step in. This really shook her up, leaving her feeling quite disheartened. This had never happened before, and it took her by complete surprise. After the session, she noticed that the same man had arranged a meeting with Miles, and they were deep in discussion in the office for what felt like an eternity. In the twilight hours, Jordan delivered the news to his cherished companion, revealing that he would be departing for a couple of days to pay a visit to his parents in a distant town. Intrigued by this sudden development, Eva inquired about the reason behind his departure. In response, Jordan casually dismissed her concerns, insisting that it was a mere matter of bureaucratic paperwork. Surprisingly, the absence of her husband did not greatly distress the woman. It is essential to mention that throughout her tenure at the spa, she had gradually grown apart from him. When she had, in fact, married Jordan, she lacked any basis for comparison in the realm of male companionship, for Eva had never engaged extensively in socializing. Consequently, Jordan had appeared to be the most suitable choice for her. However, now that she was continuously interacting with other men due to her professional obligations, Eva was incessantly evaluating and comparing her husband to them. Regrettably, Jordan did not always emerge victorious from such comparisons, displaying a rather restrained disposition and a frigid emotional demeanor. Conversely, the men at the salon consistently showered Eva with compliments, openly flirting with her. Numerous generous patrons spared no expense in demonstrating their appreciation, leaving substantial gratuities in their wake after each session. Behind closed doors, Eva indulged in clandestine daydreams, envisioning a scenario in which one of her affluent patrons would succumb to love's enchantment and fall irrevocably for her. Little did she anticipate the impending turmoil that lay ahead on that fateful day. With Jordan still gracing the city's streets alongside his parents and Eva immersed in her professional duties, the atmosphere betrayed no signs of trouble. As she readied herself for the forthcoming session, a sense of urgency infiltrated the air, conveyed by the receptionist's insistence that Eva promptly attend to an unexpected visitor. Casting a swift glance at her reflection in the mirror, she acknowledged her perennial outer. Summoning her fortitude, she swung open the door to extend her invitation, only to find her voice caught in the clutches of astonishment. Standing before her stood her estranged husband. Jordan's countenance bore a fusion of desolation and rage, an undeniable testimony to his profound disappointment in the validity of his old friend's narrative. They exchanged glances in muteness. The office coordinator was baffled, unable to grasp the issue. It was news to her that Eva even had a spouse. Thus, her patience started to fray as the delay mounted and clients were kept waiting. "Eva, can you please show Jordan to the office?" she spat out, shooting the masseuse a piercing glare. At that instant, the man stormed in, erupting in fury. Such a display of passion from Jordan, his wife had never witnessed throughout their marriage. He bellowed and berated her freely, hurling decidedly unkind remarks in her direction. In retaliation, Eva began to lash out at him. Their heated exchange teetered on the brink of physical confrontation as the wife, now seething, grabbed a jar of butter off the shelf, poised to launch it at her husband. This brewing storm was abruptly halted by Miles, who unexpectedly showed up at the door. He escorted the cursing Jordan out of the parlor, while the receptionist ushered Eva into a secluded room. There, at last, she released her fear, tears flooding from her eyes. The thought of returning home terrified her, as she had no idea how her husband would react. Yet he awaited her with an unnerving calmness, almost apathetic. "When Xavier mentioned spotting you at that parlor, I dismissed it as a lie. I sent him away, clutching at his shirt, thinking he fabricated the tale," Jordan recounted, puffing on a cigarette in the kitchen. Eva settled onto a chair, still fully dressed, and looked at her husband, realizing that her emotions toward him had withered away. It wasn't that she didn't regret Jordan discovering her secret. In fact, she felt a peculiar satisfaction. She deduced that the informant responsible for informing Jordan about Eva's workplace was the same client who had rejected her a week prior. This person turned out to be an old acquaintance from Jordan's school days, whom his wife had never encountered until now. Deep down, she harbored a sense of gratitude toward him. He had accomplished something she never had the courage to do. After their split, they each settled in different corners of the city. Eva found a place to rent near the salon where she kept her job. She no longer embarked on serious relationships with men, her dreams of a wealthy client falling madly in love with her fading into mere fantasy.